Welcome to the Self-Control Show, a podcast for men. If you get defensive, shut down, or find yourself going 0 to 100, you're in the right place. Most men were never taught how to regulate their emotions. And this show is about changing that. It's not therapy, and it's not fluff. It's training. I'm your host, Jason Schnitzer. Let's get to work. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show, and I've got another great one for you today. And today we are going to talk about the sneaky truth behind anger. And this is something that is actually like biologically researched. And one of the leading trauma PhDs, Ruth Lanius, has some great stuff on this. And it's a big part about, plays a role in the cycle that a lot of guys find themselves in, right? Going 0 to 100, getting defensive, shutting down, really experiencing tunnel vision in that moment, kind of losing your cool. And in a lot of ways, like reacting in a way in which, after you do the thing or say the thing, you're not super stoked about, right? And so what the actual secret is, I'll just tell you right up front about anger, is it's a secondary emotion, right? And what I mean by that is like usually anger doesn't show up to the party all by itself, right? Wherever it shows up. And when you really think about it, it's like you don't just get angry for no reason, right? You get angry because something happened. It's like a reaction to, right? It's the next thing that shows up after the thing, right? In a response. The secret is usually it's in response to your system, your nervous system, and your body not wanting to feel a different emotion, or it not being safe to feel that emotion and not knowing how to express it, right? When you think about like socially, culturally, especially for men, like one of the most acceptable emotions to be able to outwardly express is anger, right? Albeit it's like basically really, I don't know the word I'd say is shifting, but there's a big emphasis on like aggression and anger right now, which I think is probably getting labeled as like toxic masculinity, right? And the thing about that is guys in the most part are just doing what is adaptive for them, and like they're showing up in a way that was like is the only way that was acceptable, or kind of like is acceptable. And here's what I mean. When you have an emotion that's not okay to be expressed, where do you think it goes? And for guys, like practically speaking, the emotions that are usually underneath anger are as follows. We've got shame, fear, helplessness, sadness, rejection, abandonment, or just, physical hurt, right? And if you bump into any of those emotions, then you are likely, and if you if you don't know and can't identify those emotions for yourself, then likely how they're going to express as is anger, right? I'm feeling shame. I'm going to get angry, right? I'm afraid. I'm going to be angry. Right? You ever like, have somebody startle you or like accidentally hit you and then you kind of get pissed, right? And it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting, right? They scared you and you get pissed off at them. As opposed to being like, oh man, that was startling. Kind of freaked me out a little bit there, right? No, we go straight to anger, right? Helplessness, like we're feeling vulnerable, can get angry. Feeling sad, can be angry. Get rejected, instead of just like being able to be rejected and be sad, and we feel shame about it. And then what do? We get angry, right? And so many times when I'm working with guys and we start to like go through, the process of learning how to regulate your emotions, a lot of times the things that they can identify is like frustration, disappointment, anger, right? Sometimes like anxiousness. That's because that's the thing that they have like been it's been okay for them to experience, right? And guess what? They can identify it, right? What they can identify is the thing that caused the thing, which is like basically the sneaky part about anger is like it covers up what's actually really there, right? And a lot of times it's like we know it's there, right? We know we have this feeling of shame, we have this feeling of sad, we have this feeling of like rejection, right? But we don't see it coming, right? And when it comes on, it takes us over and it takes us out. And what's left in its wake is anger, just like instantly, boom, right to it, right? But just like people know how to like express and like feel angry, well, I take that back. Not everybody knows how to express anger, right? And that's part of what's so difficult about anger. And again, I think I just did a podcast on this on like anger management. Is a lot of times it's not even getting to the root of the problem, right? You're not actually dealing with what causes the anger, right? Now, what do you do about that? Well, you have to be able to identify the emotions in your system. If you don't know what's what, well, then like everything's going to be overwhelming. You're like, oh, fuck, what's that? Right? I don't know. Oh, get angry, right? I get overwhelmed, I get angry, right? And if you get overwhelmed, get angry, you shut down, you get defensive, you lose your cool. Bedtime becomes impossible if your kids are acting up, dinner time, etc. Anytime when there's like a lot of emotion, overwhelming emotion, right? You have a big day at work and you come home, the little things take you out. It's because when things come up, you can't identify them and therefore you can't regulate them, right? And if you can't regulate them, well, then your system just gets fried, right? You're in chronic stress, right? You can never really feel good. You're always feeling bad. Sometimes like joy and love and happiness and silliness and play are difficult things to access for guys, right? They get hard and bored and grumpy and just like work all the time. And then what happens is like when they get overwhelmed, they'll just like double down on work because it's like sometimes the only place where they get relief in a lot of ways. But that doesn't actually solve the problem, right? So what we need to do is to know the sneaky truth about anger so we can see what's causing it, right? Because again, like anger management is like being really good at like kind of like blowing the smoke out of the house from the fire, but not actually putting the fire out. Right? We don't want to manage it, right? We want to be able to regulate it and we want to be able to like get what's underneath it, put the fire out. Because when you think about it, when you never get to what's underneath, right? That's actually causing the thing. Even when you manage it, what do you have left in this whole like fire smoke analogy? You've got smoldering coals, right? So guess what? If the smoldering coals are like unregulated shame, fear, helplessness, sadness, rejection, fear of abandonment, stuff like that, right? Not good enough. If you've got that smoldering underneath, all it takes is like a little kindling to throw on there. And then guess what you got? Boom, you got fire again. And then smoke again. And the process and the cycle and the patterns repeat again and again and again and again and again. So if you've got anger that you can't control, a lot of times it means you've got some shit underneath there that you don't even know is there, probably. Another way to think about it and look at it, it's like an iceberg. I love this analogy, right? Because like what you see is only the thing that's above the surface. And like, although, right, you see it and it's like, oh, fuck, that's an iceberg. Don't want to run into that thing. Can't help but run into it. And it can be really frustrating because you try and try and try to circumnavigate the iceberg, but you keep on slamming into the same thing. And mostly because you're not seeing what's underneath the surface. Yeah. But when you see anger as a secondary emotion, it's like, catch yourself in anger. And it's like, what's this really about? Right? You can start understanding that better for yourself. And when you can understand that for yourself and get to it, well, then you can it's like taking the blindfold off, right? It's like being able to see the thing that's underneath. And when you can do that, well, then you can really circumnavigate situations. Or better yet, it's like you just get rid of the iceberg. You make the iceberg smaller. So, like, if you do bump into it, it's not so devastating to your whole system, right? And when you can do that, well, then, like, think about it. Then you wouldn't be avoiding hard conversations. Maybe you wouldn't be afraid to, like, say how you feel. Maybe you wouldn't roll over so many times when, it comes to having hard conversations with your wife. Maybe you wouldn't say yes so much when you mean to say no. And then, because, not to get too far off on a tangent, but if there are emotions that you're avoiding, well, guess what? You're going to like shut down in hard conversations. You're going to get defensive when you're trying to have like constructive feedback conversations with your wife, right? And you're going to lose your cool and not even mean to. And it can impact you in so many ways, right? And what we need to do is, again, get to what's underneath the anger so that we can regulate those emotions so that they don't take us out. Because ultimately, what you have your family doing when you've got this big iceberg, right, that you run into that you don't even realize that like you're running into is like think about like, I love this analogy. Like you're the captain of the ship, dude, and you keep on running into the icebergs, right? What do you think that's going to do to your passengers, right? Or your crew members? Are they going to trust you? Fuck no, right? They're going to be like holding on to the railing, like, oh shit, when's the next time he's going to run into the iceberg, right? And they're going to probably be able to see it coming better than you because you don't know when somebody asks you, hey, is everything good? And if you don't know that you're feeling shame, fear, hopelessness, helplessness, sadness, rejection, abandonment, whatever, you're going to say what? Yeah, everything's fine, right? I'm fine. And you're going to be going full clip, full steam ahead towards that iceberg. Everybody can see it except for you, right? Again, what do you think that is showing your kids? What do you think it's showing your wife? It's like you don't know. And it's like they can't trust that you know, right? And if they can't trust that you know, then they're just not going to feel safe around you, right? At home is not going to be a safe place to be because they're going to be worried about when is the next time dad is going to be running into this iceberg. Oh shit. What we need to do is figure out how to navigate that, right? You got to see it as it's coming up. So we don't slam into it anymore. And then we got to thaw that stuff out, right? We got to figure out, where it came from, why it's still showing up, and give you the proper tools so that the people around you see that you've got this, right? They see that even though, it's like, hey, of course you're going to get frustrated. Of course you're going to get angry, right? But you don't go to the place that you used to go when you do get angry. And that comes with learning skills, right? Learning tools, learning and understanding how to navigate those situations, not just manage what happens when you run into things, right? Not just deal with things after they occur. And that's 100% where you need to start to really start getting a hold on what's going on for you in those hard moments. And that's what I'd love to help you guys with if you identified with this. Hopefully you enjoyed this podcast. As always, I offer a complimentary call to learn more about coaching with me. Feel free to check the Calendly link in this summary. And again, hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you on the next one.